So, there you have it. But first off, let's just go ahead and start kind of discussing what we want to do as Retribution Paladins gearing throughout Tomb of Sargeras. It was kind of something that I was interested in looking at for the main fact that as it stands, there isn't too many pieces that don't have mastery on it. Actually, there's most of the pieces we will more than likely be getting are going to have mastery as far as tier goes. And that's just as far as tier goes. After tier, you know, it becomes what do we do outside of that. The initial thought, or just by glancing over the pieces of gear, was that you have the tier cape, which doesn't have any mastery on it, but at the same time you have your legendary cape, which doesn't have any mastery on it either. So the thought was, the tier cape being one of the 3 pieces without mastery, do we go for the tier cape and forego our legendary cape at this point, or do we do something different and just stick with the legendary cape? I went ahead and ran some simulations using full Mythic gear with a 970 legendary cape as well as a 970 belt as my other legendary. Violet Ceaseless Toxins as trinket number 1, and trinket number 2, the Scorpyron's Claw, because of course those are the trinkets that I have at this moment. So those are what I'm going to run. And what I found out in running these is essentially that we get, or lose I should say, it came out to be for me about 15k DPS going with the tier cape to get our 4-piece over the legendary cape. The only reason the tier cape will give us a benefit is because if you're lazy and only want to gear as much as possible out of Tomb, you could sit here and go for this head, which has haste mastery, or less mastery I should say, on it, versus your tier helmet, which has versatility mastery. Versatility is a so-so stat, but the fact that it has 1000 mastery on it just kind of is a little bit of an off-put. But simming with the alternate helm out of Tomb basically didn't yield any beneficial results. It yielded me 10k less DPS than going with the current setup, you know, of gloves, helmet, legs, and shoulder pads with the legendary belt and the legendary cape. Of course, I'm using Violet Ceaseless Toxins. Got a nice Raid Finder Warforge on that, somehow up to 895 with a socket. Not gonna complain. I've been screwed by RNG so much, it's about time I get something good. As you can see by, you know, that not Warforging, that not Warforging, that not Warforging, that not Warforging. It's just like, ah, fuck off. So, you know, I'm not complaining about that. Get away from me, bitch. So, decent trinket. This part of it just that kind of overlaps. A little bit of my, how I set up kind of annoys me, so I might change that function of that weak ore that I have for Ceaseless Toxins, because of course, you know, you need something to flash in your face, or at least I did, since, you know, I need to get used to a trinket that you use off the wings cooldown. Essentially, that replaced my FCM, which I'm kind of glad. So I don't feel like I have to go back and continually grind in Vault to get a better FCM. But at the same time, I keep simming it with like a 915, 920 FCM, and I keep getting better results. So maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But Ceaseless Toxins, the way it's been going with 3 Wrath of the Ashbringer relics, essentially I get to fire off a Violet Ceaseless Toxins right away when I get 15 stacks. Stretch, still a little early in the morning. Right away when I, God damn it. This is like fuck you melee trash. Right away when I hit my first 15 stacks of wings. And then I get to fire it off outside of wings. And then I get to fire it off again then when my next wings comes up and hits 15 stacks. which is actually pretty fucking cool. So essentially, I get to fire off during and outside of wings, so it has more uptime than FCM really ever did, and I can actually even see that in its damage output. It gives me quite a bit of damage compared to FCM because of the 15 stack benefit, you know, helping it, and then outside of the 15 stack helping as well. How gear is that? 899. Okay. Oh, I guess we're going for it. So Vilely Ceaseless Toxins actually isn't that bad of a choice. Personally, I'm liking how it's feeling already. And I just, honestly, I can't wait till I get my freaking Kill Jaden trinket to go along with this Vilely Ceaseless Toxins, because I think that is just going to be stupid overpowered and probably really good. God damn it! But yeah, I think that'll be that combination of toxins and the Spectre are going to be just ridiculously stupid OP. Some stupid fucking cunt standing outside, so of course it respawns because it targeted them with an ability, and then he's like, oh, don't facepull. I'm like, well, I didn't facepull ya, dipshit cunt motherfucker. $13, $15, hit that, continue to go ape shit. And this is where Retribution really still shines. Right here, if you look at that burst, this is why I don't think we're going to get any buffs. Because honestly, the two-piece really still picks up our damage output. I mean, look at that. That's why I'm actually believe that they nerfed our Divine Hammers, which honestly it kind of was needed, and why I don't think they're going to bring it back. Maybe until Argus, when we get rid of this two-piece. I can guarantee you they'll nerf the two-piece again, and just because of how strong it actually is. But after that, I can guarantee they will be buffing our Divine Hammers, so we actually, you know, have it see use outside of an AoE situation. Well, what am I talking about? So we can actually see it be used, period. Because right now the only reason we use it is because it got buffed by our two-piece. If it wasn't for that two-piece, it'd be falling so far behind it wouldn't even be funny. Actually, it would be funny. But at the same time, it wouldn't. It would make me cry a little bit, and then I'd be sad. But yeah, gearing-wise, I would say stick with your legendary cape. As far as the belt versus Lyridan's Fury Unleashed, I haven't really ran any sims with that because I haven't made my Lyridan's Fury 970 yet. I've got my belt and my cape to 970 since I was using those and didn't have any replacements. And then I went ahead and started getting my holy legendaries up for obvious reasons. So I haven't really had a complete chance or time to test out how the ring sims once it gets up to 970 in comparison with everything else. Which honestly, I mean, I'm fine with. There's decent rings in Tomb that we can make do with. But for the most part, I have a feeling this is going to be another Emerald Nightmare tier all over again, where most of the gear that we are going to want will be outside of Tomb of Sargeras, because most of the gear in Tomb itself, unfortunately, gives us mastery. I mean, I was kind of looking through that. I was honestly kind of a little sad when I saw that, because I didn't want to have to sit here and grind dungeons to make everything, to make my damage be able to pick up and keep up with everybody else, and to be able to get something that actually felt, halfway as rewarding. Because right now, the way it stands, like, once again, we're back to how we were in Emerald Nightmare, where, okay, yeah, you have a better chance of getting a higher item level gear out of Tomb just because its base eye level is higher. But outside of that, to be honest, you can get better itemized gear outside or in Mythic Pluses. That being said, why even run? Why even run Tomb in the first place? Well, of course, for the progression, because what everybody does. We got our better trinkets now finally out of Raid. But like I said, if you want to itemize properly and get stuff that will give you the most throughput, if you're one of those players, you're going to have to basically sit here and run Mythic Pluses once again like we're in Emerald Nightmare, left and right, and basically just farm out of Mythic Pluses. If you're not one of these players who's pushing, top-end Mythic progression, doesn't really care too much about throughput as much as, those top-end players, you'll be fine with the gear in Tomb, just for the main fact of the pure amount of strength that it does give you and guarantee you over base Mythic level gear. However, if you're able to get Mythic 15s done, on a weekly basis, I would still say do that and run, as many of those as you can with gearing in mind, just so you can get gear that'll give you the highest throughput. As far as Holy goes, I like focusing on a haste crit build, kind of over mastery. It might be kind of asinine, but I don't feel, especially with the 2 and 4 piece, that we need to stack mastery as much as Holy. Once again, this is just my feel because there's really no way of simming it. So I basically just kind of go off how I feel, and with the current guild I'm in, when I heal, how it goes. But that's just kind of how that one feels. So I basically prefer crit haste. Crit's obvious, haste kind of obvious because I like poking those out, or even crit Versa. And to get that kind of gear, once again, without the mastery, you have to go outside of Tomb of Sargeras. But then, like I said, once again, we're getting into maximizing throughput stuff instead of, just being fine doing regular old raiding. I mean, if you're, quote-unquote hero or somebody who just basically gets your feet wet in Mythic, or is fine not pushing high end progression or putting up numbers and just enjoying raiding on that in that aspect of the matter, you don't really have to worry too much about it. Like I said, Tomb gear will be fine whether you're Holy or Red. But for those of you out there like me who want to maximize your throughput as much as you can, get the most out of everything as you can, put up numbers that deal, twice as much DPS as the next closest person. Oh, motherfucker. Then you'll be fine not using Tomb of not going back and grinding outside of Tomb of Sargeras. It'd be perfectly fine, honestly. You're not gonna hinder yourself whatsoever. On that note, too, let's go back. Let's go ahead and just kind of quick talk about the Mythic progression and just kind of take a look at how that's going currently. Right now, as it stands, surprise, surprise, Method went and took ahead their first place position back. 8-9 Mythic. They're working on Mythic Kill Jaden. Don't think that's really surprises anybody that was going to happen. See these boots. Even though their mastery, 100 strength might not be enough to overtake that mastery annoyance. So no surprise there that Method went ahead, took back their 8 and 9. You know, after 1 week, not bad. I kind of felt like that's what was going to happen once people got over that maiden hump. Basically, Avatar would fall pretty quickly, and then they'd be stuck on Kill Jaden for about a week or two. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen here. They're going to be on Kill Jaden for about a week or two, and you know, there we go. Unread mail from the postmaster. I mustn't have looted something. And why is my mouse acting like there's something on my mouse pad? There we go. There's about, let's see, then we got basically the rest of the top 20 at 7. Limits back up in 3rd, the Russian Guild back in 2nd, and then we actually have a Alliance Guild in 4th on Airy Peak. Easy, it is not, never went to, fucking, whatever, that other one, the other one that usually, I can't remember, they're Alliance Guilds, nobody gives a shit about Alliance Guilds. But where exactly did Big Dumb Guild get off to? Big Dumb Guild got stuck at 6 to 9, it looks like, and they're staying there. Encore has passed them, and so did Limit. So, you know, they, after, you know, basically pushing, getting a few quick world firsts, are now kind of falling back off. Kind of where they were, you know, last year, but credit to them, you know, honestly, big time credit to them. To basically be able to go out in the first week, not be one of these, you know, top end guilds, but still get a whole bunch of, you know, a few world firsts to their name put out. You know, big time ups, man. That definitely takes, you know, the dedication and the drive. You know, and basically going in there knowing what you're doing and being able to adapt on the fly. You know, actually basically be a true Mythic guild. So I think they've kind of, you know, laid the groundwork here for themselves going into Argus, you know, to see how things are gonna go. As far as the other guilds on Illidan, I mean, you got 2 at 7, 1 at 6, 2 at 5, 4 at 4, and then it looks like 3 is kind of where the rest are kind of hitting off at. I mean, so Illidan, one of the higher, you know, progression realms, it seems like people basically are kind of hitting their wall at 3. You know, I would guess that'd be the kind of the Mr. Suzanne wall. They're going up to Demonic Inquisition 2nd, and then hitting Heartgen 3rd, and then hitting Mistress. Let me just kind of mouse over these and see. Yep, Gorath, Demonic, Heartgen, and then they kind of stop. Yeah, so those are the first 3 people are kind of going with. So, no surprise there. I mean, kind of figured Mistress would be the first big cuck of the raid. You know, just for the fact that, you know, even on Heroic, it is a pain in the ass. I mean, so Mythic-wise, you know, things are feeling, I don't know, they're feeling kind of staggered to me. You know, with this kind of staggering and their attempt at kind of winging, quote-unquote, wing releasing the raids, I would have preferred more of an ICC-esque setup. Maybe not release it the way they released ICC. You know, this week we have one wing, this week we have another wing, this week so on and so on and so forth. But, maybe just setting the raid up that way so it wasn't, you know, as confusing. Granted, they do have a main atrium, but how that main atrium connects, honestly, it still gets confusing after two or so weeks running through this. I mean, but that could just be me. I mean, maybe I could just be used to organize and have, you know, a little bit of OCD when it comes to that organization. But heroic-wise, let's see, on Illidan, we're looking at only 58 guilds, downing Heroic, kill Jaden. And then you go up into Mythic, only 47 of Gorath, 28 have Inquisition, 35 of Heartgen, so it tells you that more people are going to Heartgen after Gorath. And then you just go down Sisters 9, Suzanne 3, 5 on Desolate Host, 2 on Vigilance. So that alone also is telling me people are actually going Gorth, Demonic, Heartjan, Sisters, Host, and then going back and doubling back to get Mistress, which you actually can do, because once you go up and kill Demonic, you place the hammer. That unlocks the wing for Sisters and Host. When you kill Suzanne and place the eye, then that unlocks the Maiden of Vigilance. This is how it goes, I believe. So there's different ways that you can run through this. My preferred path would be that Goroth, Inquisition, Heartjan, Sisters, Host, and then go back and deal with the mess that is Mistress Suzanne. Just for the main fact, because like I said, that instance in and of itself, or that boss in and of itself just seems, even on Heroic, highly overtuned for the amount of mechanics that you have to do. But then at the same time, I mean, outside of the boss's health would be okay if you didn't have 5,000 mechanics that you always constantly had to move for. I mean, that's just the only annoying part of that boss. Personally, I feel like they need to tone back the boss's health just a smidge. Not too much, not completely nerf the boss, but maybe dial it back a hair. Just for the main fact, because I don't feel like it's something you should be sitting there beating your head on 7-8 minutes, wipe, and then here we go again. But I mean, that's just kind of how I feel about it, especially in Heroic. In Heroic, I don't feel it should be that big of a gate. I mean, but it definitely is showing to be that big of a gate. So this week, it looks like my guild specifically is going to trounce down, because today is the 5th of July, and this is a little bit late because, of course, 4th of July weekend, nothing says America like blowing shit up and getting drunk. At the same time, mind you, and then telling kids who aren't drunk to let the drunk adults handle the fireworks. Because America, yeah! So we took a day off. I mean, there's some of those who, didn't have a life or a social experience and went out and did normal yesterday on Tuesday. But it sounds like today we're going to run down Heroic, and then jump into Mythic tomorrow. Heroic bosses should fall pretty simply. There shouldn't be anything that we fuck around with too much on. Of course, I could go one way or the other, do healing or DPS on any of them. That's kind of what the week is going to look like as far as we go here. And so that's kind of how we're looking. Once again, as Retribution, we're not going to want to look at taking that cape. The tier cape, we're going to want to stick with our legendary because it gives us better throughput. But then that's kind of how we're looking. Do the same 4-piece, that I got here: the legs, the head, the shoulders, and then legs, head, shoulders, and gloves, and you'll essentially be good. But that is where we're going to cut that one for this evening, or this afternoon, I should say. Case File 03, be sure to tune in tonight at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time when we do go ahead and start hitting some Mythic rating. But until then, this has been Spyweaver here with TruSpy Gaming, signing off, and we'll catch you then.